94 spots. That's the gap between them on the WTA rankings today. And in a few hours, the player ranked 94 spots below her is walking onto a hardcourt in Washington, D.C. to face an actual Olympic gold medalist. And almost nobody outside the Philippines expected this match to even be close. Because here's the twist nobody saw coming. The player everyone assumed would get steamrolled might actually be the one holding the edge. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand why one of the most experienced champions in women's tennis is walking into this match more worried than anyone expected. If you've been following this channel, you already know I don't just repeat headlines. I dig into the actual numbers, the actual quotes, the actual history, so you get the real story before anyone else explains it to you properly. If that's the kind of tennis coverage you want in your feed, hit subscribe right now, because I'm about to break down exactly why this specific matchup matters so much more than a normal first-round game, and you don't want to miss what happens next in this rivalry. Let's get into it. AlexEala, ranked world number 29, walks into the Mubadala DC Open unseeded but riding the best 3 weeks of her career. Her opponent is Zheng Qinwen, a name that needs no introduction to serious tennis fans. Zheng is the reigning Paris 2024 Olympic singles gold medalist, a former world number 4, and a 2024 Australian Open finalist. On paper, this looks like a mismatch in Zheng's favor. Pedigree versus potential. Trophies versus talent. But paper doesn't tell you what's actually happening on court right now, and that's where the story gets genuinely interesting. Here's the part that changes everything. Zheng Qinwen has spent most of the last year rebuilding, not competing. She underwent arthroscopic elbow surgery in July of last year. She missed the back half of that season entirely. She was forced to withdraw from this year's Australian Open before she'd even played a point. When she finally returned in February at the Qatar Open in Doha, she said something that tells you everything about where her head was during that period. She admitted, quote, "I don't pray for winning matches. I just prayed for a normal elbow." That is not a champion talking about beating opponents. That is someone talking about simply getting her body back. Since that comeback, Zheng's results have been a roller coaster. She's currently sitting at an even 11 wins and 11 losses for the season. No titles. She lost in the first round at Wimbledon this year. 2 weeks ago, she was beaten in the quarterfinals at Athens by Barbara Krejcikova, a loss that actually cost her enough ranking points to miss the US Open direct entry cutoff completely. She's now scrapping for wildcards just to stay on tour at the level her talent says she belongs. Now compare that to what AlexEala has been doing. She walks into this match unseeded, but she's coming off 2 WTA semi-final runs already this season and a Wimbledon campaign that made history, becoming the first Filipino, man or woman, to reach the 4th round of a Grand Slam in the Open era. Along the way through the grass swing, she picked up wins over former Wimbledon champion Elena Rybakina, world number 8 Alina Svitolina, and defending champion Iga Swiatek. She also walked away from Wimbledon with a WTA 125 title in Birmingham already banked for the year. This isn't a rising player hoping to catch lightning in a bottle. This is a player currently in the best form of her career, walking into a match against an opponent who is still finding her rhythm again. But here's where I have to be completely fair to Zheng, because this story only works if we respect both players. When her body is right, Zheng Qinwen is one of the most dangerous ball strikers in the entire sport. In that same Doha comeback, in her very first match back after nearly half a year away, she produced 20 aces and 43 winners against a former Grand Slam champion. That is not a player who forgot how to hit a tennis ball. That is a player whose weapon is fully intact. The only question is whether her body will hold up long enough to use it. And there's one more piece of this puzzle that Filipino fans need to hear, because it's the uncomfortable part of the story. These two have actually met before. Back in 2023, at the Hangzhou Asian Games, an 18-year-old AlexEala faced Zheng Qinwen in the singles semifinal. Zheng won that day in 3 tight sets, 6-1, 6-7, 6-3, going on to claim gold at that tournament while Eala settled for bronze. That is the only head-to-head data point that exists between them on any court anywhere, and it belongs to Zheng. This will be their very first meeting on the WTA Tour itself, on a completely different surface 3 years later, with both players in completely different places in their careers. Does that old result still mean anything today? That's exactly what today's match is going to answer. So what does the evidence actually tell us heading into this? Not who is the better player across a whole career. That's a much bigger question than one match can settle. What it tells us is this. One player is riding the best momentum of her life, having just beaten a defending Wimbledon champion 3 weeks ago. The other is still rebuilding match sharpness after nearly a year away from full health, and has lost as many matches as she's won this season. Momentum in tennis is real, and right now, momentum belongs to the player from Manila. There's also a bigger picture sitting underneath this single match, and it's worth pointing out. Just 3 weeks ago at Wimbledon, Jasmine Paolini, a Grand Slam finalist who eventually beat Eala in their own match, sat in a pre-match press conference and called her a very tough opponent, unprompted, before that match had even happened. Elite players don't say things like that about players they don't respect. When someone at that level publicly flags you as dangerous before facing you, that's not hype. That's scouting. So here's what's actually on the line today, beyond just one first-round result. If AlexEala wins this match, she doesn't just beat a ranked opponent. She beats an Olympic gold medalist on hardcourt in front of a home American crowd, continuing a run that already reshaped how the entire sport is talking about her. If Zheng wins, it's proof that her comeback is finally turning the corner, and that the body that once carried her to world number 4 is ready to compete again at that level. Either outcome changes the story completely, and neither outcome is something anyone can predict with real confidence right now. This match is happening today, and I will be covering the result the moment it lands, along with exactly what it means for the rest of AlexEala's hardcourt swing heading into Toronto, Cincinnati, and the US Open. If you want to know the outcome and what it means before anyone explains it to you with half the context, subscribe now and turn on notifications, because this story is not close to finished. Drop a comment telling me who you think walks away with this one. I'll see you in the next video.